Northwestern went on the road for their second game in 48 hours, and they got a dominant victory in impressive fashion. And I mean, we just have to talk about it. This team right now is kind of rolling.
You are Locked On Northwestern, your daily podcast on the Northwestern Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We appreciate you making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every single day. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. You can find us there. Wherever you're listening, make sure you're subscribed and you turn on notifications. You don't want to miss an episode. I'm your host, Carter Bird, and let's dive into this. Actually, first things first, today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, the official sports book of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. All right, so let's dive into this. Northwestern coming off the 8-day COVID pause. They got Wisconsin at home on Monday evening and got a huge win in that game, pulled out the 66-63 victory. Then less than 48 hours from the end of that game, the team was on the road in Lincoln, taking on Nebraska, a Nebraska team that's dealing with some injuries. Still a solid team. They were solid in the KenPom and the net rankings. A team that was dangerous if Northwestern didn't come ready to play, especially when you think about the fact that Northwestern had some depth issues with the fact that Julian Roper didn't know what his status was coming in. Really didn't know Ty Berry's status all that much coming in either. He ended up playing, obviously, but Julian Roper ended up not playing. You worry about the conditioning coming off the COVID pause. Second game of 48 hours. A lot of things moving against Northwestern. The deck was somewhat stacked against Northwestern going into this game. And this is a Nebraska team that just a week prior had pulled the upset against Ohio State. An Ohio State team that dominated early against Northwestern and were able to cruise to a fairly easy victory in Evanston. Since then, Ohio State, things have not gone well. But this Nebraska team, there's so many external factors for Northwestern heading into this game that you had to be worried. You had to be concerned. Like Chase Audige at times looked really gassed. Chris Collins talked about after the Wisconsin game how in the second half, he had to burn 2 quick timeouts because his team looked tired. When you're not able to get out there and practice full court, the full team, you're not able to have the full practices. You're not able to play in games. Conditioning goes quickly, especially over an 8-day period. And Northwestern was able to grit out that win versus Wisconsin. They started fast and kind of hung to the lead there in the second half. Wisconsin kind of just never got knocked down, just hung in there, hit some big threes to put them up in the second half. Northwestern came back with some big threes of their own. Boo Booey played great. You're able to gut out that win. Then here you are going on the road. This feels like it's a spot where everybody, I think, just on paper would have looked at it and said, oh, Northwestern's going to win that game. But when you examine all the extra factors, all the external factors, everything else going on, there was serious concern for Northwestern going into this game. It was about as trappy of a trap spot as it could get because it's against one of the teams kind of closer to the bottom of the league, a Nebraska team that was 3-6 in Big Ten play coming in, tied. Well, I guess they technically had the tiebreaker with Ohio State, but they were tied with Ohio State for second to worst record in the Big Ten. So there's a lot of reasons why people could have just kind of dismissed this Nebraska game. I guess even guys on the roster for Northwestern. And you had to be worried coming in. I was worried. The line was 2.5. I think it was shorter than that at some certain points. I think it was around 1.5 before it moved a little bit in Northwestern's favor, which made you think maybe Julian Roper was going to play. He ended up not. But I felt uncomfortable about that line. I said Northwestern would cover, but I just didn't know. I didn't have a feel for this game because this is something that no other team in college basketball has gone through these past 2 weeks. No other team in college basketball has gone through what Northwestern is going through this season. So it was a little bit up in the air. You didn't know what was going to happen. And it kind of all led to this just crescendo of hey, anything can happen once the ball tipped at 6 o'clock on Wednesday night on FS2. And you know what? Credit where credit's due. Northwestern daggum answered the call, and they showed up ready to go, and they performed at an extremely high level. And we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But first, let's talk about our friends at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the #1 sports book in America, FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features to make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. This weekend, we know Northwestern is going to be playing Minnesota. I don't know what the line's at now because the college basketball lines come out very late, but that's going to be one I'm going to keep an eye on. And then obviously the NFL, we got the championship games. And those are some very interesting lines as well right now when you look at the fact that depending on where you look, Kansas City could be a favorite by a point, or the Bengals might be a favorite by a point. That line keeps moving because it all depends on the health of Patrick Mahomes. I know that the Eagles and 49ers, that game is going to be interesting. You would assume the 49ers are going to be underdogs in that. I kind of like the road teams in those matchups. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend watching those games take place. And look, all of this is on an app that's safe and secure and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Also, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big name experts, insiders, and coaches and players. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's talk about this game and the way it played out, because the first half was absolutely nuts. It was insane because you had Tominaga for Nebraska. He went off. He goes 6 of 8, 2 of 3 from 3, 1 of 2 at the line. He had 15 first half points. And you're sitting there, and it was right out the gate, too. I think he had the first 12 points for Nebraska in this game. He was money out the gate, but not to be outdone. The man that we thought was going to be banged up, we didn't even know if he was going to be able to play. We didn't know if that ankle was going to swell up or not. Ty Berry comes out with what I think is the most impressive first half by any Northwestern player all year. He goes 8 for 9 from the field, 5 of 5 from 3, grabbed a rebound, had an assist, no turnovers in 17 minutes on the court, 21 points. He was unbelievable. And he was just, you could tell he was feeling it. Every three felt like he was in more of a rhythm as he got going. The final one was the one in the corner where they're closing out on him, and it's a contested three, and he has to get it off quickly to get it off clean, and he does, and he buries it, and Nebraska is forced to call a timeout. Ty Berry is absolutely the superstar of that first half. Just unbelievable. You got solid production out of Boo Buie, giving you 8 points, 3 for 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3 on his own. He grabbed 3 boards. He had an assist and a turnover as well in that first half. Matt Nicholson, 3 of 3 from the field. He was pretty good. Brooks Barnheiser only had 4 points, but he grabbed 4 boards. Northwestern was able to get crazy hot in that first half. 17 of 31. Obviously, half of those makes basically are Ty Berry's. They went 8 of 15 from 3, 5 of those being Ty Berry's, 2 of those being Boo Buie's, and Brooks Barnheiser. They were 17 of 31 in the first half, 55% from the field, 54.8 to be exact. 8 of 15 from 3 as they went 53.3% from deep. They didn't get to the free throw line a bunch, but when you are shooting that well from 3, absolutely, it's 100% fine. They also absolutely killed Nebraska on the boards in the first half, out-rebounding them 18-9, 12 defensive rebounds to Nebraska's 8, 6 offensive rebounds to Nebraska's 1, 14 second chance points on those 6 offensive boards in the first half to Nebraska's 2 second chance points. Unbelievable job by Northwestern on the glass in the first half as they thoroughly dominated that first half. If Tominaga doesn't go nuts, Northwestern's probably up 20 in the first half. It really was just a dominant performance by Northwestern in that first half. Second half, little bit scarier. Northwestern started the half hot again, got on a run to open the half, extended that lead out to, I'm going to see, they got as high as 23 with 12:51 left in the game. Boo Buie hit 2 free throws in a row to extend it to 23 points. Got back to 23 after Boo hit a 3 on what looks like the next possession. Just a dominant start to the half to extend a 13-point halftime lead. You love to see it. Chase Audige got going. Ty Berry kept going early. He hit a jumper and a 3 back-to-back, and he got to 26 points like that coming out of half. But then it was Chase Audige kind of taking over the rest of the half with Boo Buie's solid production as well. And they just extended that lead. And then I think you started to see the fatigue factor creep in because the shots got a little flatter for Northwestern. Possessions, there was a little bit less movement, and maybe you saw a few more less fluid protecting the basketball possessions, quality shot possessions, and it allowed Nebraska to crawl back in the game. But you got 15 points in the second half from Chase Audige. Combine that, that's really his only 15 points of the game. You get 9 points from Boo Buie as he finished the game with 17. Didn't get him a bunch from anybody else, really. You got 5 from Ty Berry as he got to 26. Nebraska, on the other hand, a lot more well-rounded. They got all sorts of people involved in that second half. But they crawled back in the game. And credit to them. Rebounding tightened up. It was 17-14 in the second half as you got better effort out of them on in the second half. Second chance points weren't lopsided like they were in the first half. It was 2-2. Just a much different half. As you saw, Northwestern was over 53% from three in the first half. Well, they went 3 of 15 in the second half. At one point, as Nebraska was chipping away, Northwestern kept ripping from deep, and they weren't going at that point. And you were just begging that Northwestern team to start to go into the paint, get some shots on the inside, as they only took 10 2-point shots in the second half. And they went what appears to be 9 for 10 from two, as they shot 48% in the first and the second half, going 12 of 25. But for a while there, they just refused to go inside. They got to the line 10 times, hit 8 of them, and that was enough. This Nebraska team closed the gap, closed it as close as I believe it got into about 10 points. I got to 12. It didn't get any closer than that, but there were some moments where it was scary, where it was like Northwestern's legs are shot. Boo Buie, Chase Audige, Ty Berry playing a ton of minutes for the second time in 48 hours. This Nebraska team played more players. And, you know, there was a worry that if Nebraska started getting hot again, that you would see them close the gap and make it very, very interesting. But Northwestern did hit enough shots to distance themselves and get the 78-63 victory for their second win in a row this week, as they still have another one yet to come. But we will talk about some takeaways from the game and what's coming up next here in a second. But first, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen today. For your second listen, check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Experts Isaac Shade and Andy Patton bring you everything you need to know on and off the court. Plus, hear from big-name experts, coaches, and players throughout the basketball landscape. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. So takeaways from this game. I mean, if this is going to be the Ty Berry that we see the rest of the year, this Northwestern team, there's no reason why they can't hang with anybody in the country. He was deadly in that first half. He was playing with confidence. The ankle didn't seem to really be bothering him. He dropped 26 points on 17 shots, 10 of 17 from the field, 6 of 12 from three. He hit over half of Northwestern's threes for the game. Boo Buie, efficient game as well. 17 points on 9 shots, 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, and 4 of 4 at the line. Didn't get to the line quite as much as we've seen in the past, but, efficient game by him. He went and grabbed 5 boards too, and I will take that every single time. Chase Audige, pretty efficient game by him too. 15 points, 6 of 11 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3. We've seen him have better nights, but I do think late in the game, those legs were kind of shot. 2 of 2 at the line, 6 boards, 4 assists. I want to see how many steals he grabbed. He and Ty Berry both grabbed a couple steals in this game as well. Matt Nicholson, 3 of 3 from the field, 8 points, 2 of 4 at the free throw line. Like to see the rebound numbers up a little bit higher than 5. Brooks Barnheiser didn't shoot particularly well, but he grabbed 8 boards, had a couple assists, and he went 2 of 8 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, and 1 of 2 at the line. I will say Nick Martinelli, he has turned out to be a pretty good little player in his short minutes that he plays, because he's a tall guy, true freshman, has not played that much this year. Julian Roper's been out. He's gotten in there. He had a couple beautiful little baseline floaters that were huge. He grabbed another rebound. Did have a couple turnovers, but I tell you what, I am encouraged by the signs of progress you see from a guy like him. I think for the game, this Nebraska team shot 36% from 3. Northwestern only put them on the line 8 times, where they went 4 of 8, which is great. And they're about 47% shooting from the field. But Northwestern, when you look at it, they shot better from the field. They shot better from 3. They shot better at the free throw line. They out-rebounded them. They had fewer turnovers, more points off turnovers. They won the defensive and offensive glass, second chance points, bench points. Didn't win points in the paint, but I think that's because Northwestern hit 11 threes in the game. Bench outscored Nebraska. Fast break points slightly, blocks slightly, steals slightly, assists slightly. And, they led in this game for 32 minutes and 59 seconds. And, it's a credit to this team's ability to kind of circle the wagons after what is a difficult week and a half, 2 weeks. And they have come out the gates here after the 8-day COVID pause and reeled off 2 victories. The line was 2.5 in this game, and they comfortably cruised to a 15-point win. Credit to Northwestern. Credit to this staff. Impressive what they've been able to do. They advanced to, I believe, 16-4. No, that's incorrect. 14-5, rather. 14-5 overall, 5-3 in conference play, tied for 3rd in the Big Ten right now. KenPom spiked a little bit more as they are now the 43rd team in the KenPom net rankings. They have spiked as well to, I believe, 44th. So Northwestern sitting in a great spot right now. Coming up, you got another test, another on Saturday, the 11 a.m. tip, Central Time on the Big Ten Network. 7-12 Minnesota comes to Evanston. Don't have a line on this game. I mentioned that earlier. It's a scary one, though, because Northwestern's playing their 3rd game in 5 days, part of this 6 games in 13-day stretch. If Northwestern can stay above 500 in this stretch, I'd view that as an absolute win, because this is going to be the most challenging 13 days any team in this conference goes through, because nobody plays 6 games in 13 days. If this team can continue to figure out ways to claw out wins, this team, at the end of the 13 days, we will know if this Northwestern team is going to go play in the NCAA tournament or not, in my mind. Because if they come out, if they make a run here, if they beat Minnesota at home like they probably should, if they go on the road and beat an Iowa team that I think is beatable, if they come back home and a Michigan team that they hung with on the road, if they pull that win off, then we're talking about a team that could be sitting 8-3. They're probably not going to be sitting 8-3 in conference play at that point. They're probably going to drop one of these 3. I don't expect it to be Saturday. But if they can find a way to navigate through that Wisconsin game after the Michigan game too on the road, that's going to be difficult. Look, they're sitting in a beautiful spot. If they can win, be +2 in the wins category over to that stretch, you would love to see that. This Northwestern team would be a dangerous team in the back half, where the schedule does ramp up a little bit. You have to go to Wisconsin, to Ohio State, Purdue at home. You get Indiana, again, a team that you already beat. You get Iowa at home. You got to go on the road to Illinois and on the road to Maryland to finish out February. And then you get Penn State at home. You got to go on the road to a good Rutgers team. But I tell you what, I am encouraged, because this Northwestern team right now feels like they are figuring it out. They are an experienced team. They've got to continue to take care of themselves. They've got to recover as well as possible, because this is going to be a grind for this 13-day stretch. But so far, through 4 days, couldn't have gone better. So props to this team, props to this staff. This Northwestern team continues to climb the Big Ten standings, and you just love to see it. That's going to do it for today's episode. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every single day. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. You can also find us on YouTube. Wherever you're listening, make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss an episode. It's been a lot of fun this basketball season, a lot more optimistic than football season was. I'm your host, Carter Bird. You can follow me on social media at CarterBird13. I'll see you all tomorrow as we talk a little Michigan and the rest of the Big Ten.